If you're a man over 30, especially if you've been through the ringer of relationships or even marriage, you know the truth. The dream of a happy marriage is slowly fading into a nightmare. You've been sold a lie, one that promises happily ever after. Yet so many men are left with nothing but regret, anger, and a shattered sense of self. You've seen it happen to friends, maybe even to yourself. The marriage you thought would last forever ends in heartache, financial ruin, or worse, betrayal. And here's the brutal reality: the way things are going, you might lose everything again. You might not even see it coming. The system, the laws, the expectations, they've all been rigged against you. But here's the catch. If you don't confront this now, if you don't wake up to the cold truth about modern relationships, you'll end up stuck in the same cycle of disappointment and loss. No more illusions. No more pretending. What if I told you that the real reason so many marriages fail isn't what you've been told by society or the media, but here's the real reason why everything you've been told about marriage is a lie. From the moment you were a kid, you were told the same story. Find the one, fall in love, get married, and live happily ever after. Every movie, every song, every piece of advice from your parents reinforced it. Marriage was painted as the ultimate prize, the finish line of life's race. You worked hard, became stable, and believed that once you found her, everything else would fall into place. But here's the truth most men only realize: when it's too late, what you were promised was a fantasy. The version of marriage you were sold doesn't exist anymore. The honeymoon phase is intoxicating. She adores you, you feel needed, and life feels complete. Yet slowly, almost imperceptibly, something changes. The warmth turns to coldness, affection to obligation, and passion to resentment. You start walking on eggshells, trying to fix something that's no longer alive. It's not that men stop loving. It's that the entire foundation of what they believed love meant was built on illusion. Society glorifies sacrifice, compromise, and devotion, but it never tells you what happens when that devotion isn't reciprocated. It never shows the man sitting in his car outside his own house, trying to build up the courage to walk back into an argument that's been simmering for weeks. The happily ever after myth blinds men to the brutal reality that relationships today are transactional, conditional, and easily disposable. You're told to be patient, to communicate better, to try harder, but that advice assumes both sides still want the same thing. Most on single quotes. So while you chase the dream you were promised, reality quietly rewrites the rules, and most men never see it until everything collapses. But here's the thing they never told you: what happens when the mask slips. For generations, men were taught a clear script: be a provider, be strong, be dependable. In return, you'd earn loyalty, affection, and a stable partner for life. That was the deal. That's what you were led to believe. But somewhere along the way, the rules changed, and no one bothered to tell you. The rise of feminism, cultural empowerment, and economic independence has completely rewritten what women expect from relationships. On paper, that sounds like progression in many ways. It is. Women now have the freedom to choose their own paths, to pursue careers, to live without dependence. But what most men didn't realize is that this newfound independence also shifted the power balance in relationships. The traditional dynamic where a man's value was tied to his ability to provide no longer carries the same weight. Today, a woman doesn't need a man to survive. She can earn her own income, travel the world, and build her own social status. And when survival is no longer a factor, attraction becomes less about stability and more about excitement, validation, and emotional stimulation. The traits that once made a man a good husband are often the very ones that get him labeled boring or predictable in the modern dating market. This is where the disconnect begins. What men still expect: loyalty, gratitude, mutual respect, isn't necessarily what modern women are prioritizing. Many are chasing feelings over foundations, status over substance. Social media amplifies this even further. Constant validation, endless options, and the illusion of abundance make it harder for anyone to stay content. A woman today can get more attention from strangers online in a week than her grandmother did in a lifetime, and that changes everything about how she views relationships and commitment. Meanwhile, men are still playing by the old rulebook, believing that consistency, honesty, and hard work will earn lasting love. But in an environment where emotional novelty and social status are currency, those values no longer guarantee loyalty. They sometimes even work against you. So when men say they don't recognize women anymore, it's not bitterness. It's confusion. The social contract they were taught no longer applies. The women they were raised to protect and provide for now see protection as control and provision as obligation. You were led to believe that if you became the man women said they wanted, you'd be rewarded with love and commitment. But how things really work today is far more complicated and far less forgiving. But this shift isn't just about women, it's about how society has conditioned you to ignore the warning signs. Every man dreams of finding someone who'll stand by him through thick and thin. But what most men don't realize is that marriage today isn't the same partnership their fathers or grandfathers entered. It's a legal and financial contract that can destroy you the moment it goes wrong. And here's the harsh truth: the risks are higher than ever. And the system isn't designed to protect you. You've been told marriage is about love, commitment, and building a life together. But beneath that emotional veneer lies a set of laws and social expectations that overwhelmingly favor women when things fall apart. The moment you sign that marriage certificate, you're not just making a promise, you're entering a binding agreement that gives the state authority over your finances, your property, and even your access to your own children. Think about that. You could spend decades building your life, your savings, your home, your future, only for half of it to vanish overnight in a courtroom. And it's not just the money. It's the emotional toll of realizing that the person you once trusted most has become your opponent. Divorce lawyers thrive on this chaos. The longer the fight drags on, the more they earn. The system profits from your pain. And if children are involved, it gets even darker. Custody laws, despite claims of equality, still heavily lean in favor of mothers. Fathers who want to be active in their kids' lives often find themselves battling a system that views them as secondary caregivers at best, walking wallets at worst. Many men end up financially drained, emotionally broken, and alienated from the very family they worked to protect. Asterisk yet, society still tells men that getting married is the mature, responsible thing to do. You're seen as afraid of commitment if you hesitate. You're accused of being cynical or bitter if you question the institution. But look at the data: rising divorce rates, declining marriage satisfaction, and an entire generation of men quietly warning others not to make the same mistake. Are they all bitter or just finally awake? Marriage today often benefits women more than men. Not because women are malicious, but because the system rewards them for leaving. Alimony, child support, property division, it all adds up to one undeniable truth: the incentives to stay are weaker than the incentives to walk away. And when the love fades, the legal framework kicks in, turning what was once a partnership into a transaction. Still, many men walk blindly into it. They ignore the warning signs, believing that their situation will be different. "She's not like that," they say. "We really love each other." But love doesn't hold up in court. Contracts do. And once that signature dries, you've handed over leverage you may never get back. If you don't understand these risks now, you're setting yourself up for disaster. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. You can't play a game when you don't know the rules. And modern marriage has rules most men never learn until it's too late. So before you take that step, ask yourself, do you know what you're really agreeing to? Are you prepared for the potential cost? Because in today's world, marriage isn't just about love, it's about liability. But there's something even more insidious at play, something that most men overlook until it's too late. You grew up believing women wanted what men have always valued in themselves: stability, loyalty, integrity, and strength. You thought if you worked hard, stayed faithful, and provided a good life, that would be enough. That's what you thought women wanted. But in today's world, that version of masculinity, the steady provider, the grounded leader, isn't what most modern women are drawn to anymore. What they really value has changed, and that shift has left millions of men feeling lost, frustrated, and invisible. The truth is, modern culture has reprogrammed women's desires. Social media, dating apps, and constant validation have turned relationships into marketplaces of endless comparison. The average woman today receives more attention in a week, likes, deems compliments, offers than men receive in a lifetime. That kind of exposure changes psychology. It inflates expectations and erodes gratitude. When attention is unlimited, commitment starts to feel like a cage. Enter hypergamy, the instinctual drive to seek the best possible mate. It's not new, but technology has supercharged it. Where past generations of women compared themselves to their local community, today's women compare themselves to the top 1% of men globally. The man she dates isn't just competing with guys in her city. He's competing with high-value men from all over the world, the ones she sees on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, flaunting status, wealth, and influence. So while men are searching for companionship and partnership, women are increasingly filtering for status, lifestyle, and emotional stimulation. Nice guys aren't finishing last. They're not even in the race. Because what you were raised to believe women wanted, dependability, humility, consistency, now registers as safe, boring, or predictable. And in a world built on instant gratification, safe doesn't sell. That's why so many men feel like they're doing everything right and still ending up alone. You're following the rulebook that once worked, but the game has changed. Women are no longer choosing partners based on long-term compatibility. They're choosing based on how a man makes them feel right now. Emotional highs have replaced emotional bonds. But here's the paradox. While women claim to want equality, they still expect men to lead, protect, and provide. The difference is, they now want all of that without having to reciprocate traditional feminine roles in return. The balance is gone, replaced by an endless cycle of unrealistic expectations and emotional burnout on both sides. What men are realizing is that no amount of effort, provision, or loyalty can compete with the dopamine rush of modern validation culture. And until you understand that, you'll keep wondering why love feels one-sided, temporary, or impossible. Asterisk, but let's be clear, this isn't just about women. It's about the bigger societal forces that have made marriage obsolete for decades. The media has sold us a fantasy about love and marriage, a neatly packaged illusion where everything always works out, where passion never fades, and where true love conquers all. From Hollywood movies to pop songs to Instagram influencers, the message has been relentless. Love is effortless. Romance is eternal. And if your relationship isn't perfect, you're the problem. That's what the media tells you about love. But the reality you live in looks nothing like that. Real relationships are messy, complicated, and full of compromises. Yet, society has conditioned both men and women to chase an ideal that doesn't exist. Women grow up expecting emotional fireworks and constant validation, while men are told they must forever prove their worth through sacrifice and performance. Neither side wins, because both are trapped inside a script written by corporations, not human nature. Every ad, every show, every online post reinforces the same pattern: men as expendable providers, women as perpetually unsatisfied seekers. The goal isn't to help people connect, it's to keep them consuming. Buy the ring, take the trip, post the perfect anniversary photo. Modern relationships have become marketing campaigns disguised as love stories. And when the illusion breaks, when reality fails to match the filtered perfection, you're told to move on and find something better. Social media has only made this worse. Couples compare their behind-the-scenes struggles to everyone else's highlight reels. Gratitude is replaced by envy. Commitment feels like confinement. The algorithm rewards drama over devotion, controversy over communication. Every swipe, every scroll, every post subtly trains you to see relationships as disposable, replaceable, and endlessly upgradable. And yet, no one questions the deeper cost of this cultural conditioning. Divorce rates climb, families crumble, and men are left wondering why the simple dream of a stable marriage feels impossible. It's because the system profits from your failure. It thrives on your dissatisfaction. The more disconnected and lonely people become, the easier they are to manipulate, to sell to control. This isn't just the death of the marriage ideal, it's the death of authenticity itself. And this cultural brainwashing isn't just hurting relationships, it's hurting you. Across the world, more men are quietly checking out of relationships, and they're not doing it out of bitterness, but out of exhaustion. After years of trying to live up to expectations that constantly move, they've had enough. They've watched friends lose everything in divorces, seen fathers alienated from their children, and experienced firsthand how modern dating feels more like a competition than a connection. It's no wonder so many men are walking away. You're not the only one who feels betrayed by this system. More men are waking up every day. They're beginning to realize that the promises of love, loyalty, and partnership have been replaced with conditional affection and transactional dynamics. The rise of the red pill, MGTOW, and other men's communities isn't about hatees, about understanding. These movements emerged because millions of men needed answers in a world that refuses to hear their side of the story. This disillusionment isn't just emotional, it's existential. Men are questioning their purpose, their value, and their place in a society that tells them they're simultaneously privileged and disposable. They're learning that being a good man in the traditional sense doesn't guarantee respect, love, or security. Often leads to being taken for granted. And yet, within this awakening, there's solidarity. There's a growing brotherhood of men who finally understand they're not broken. They're reacting to a broken system. They're starting to rebuild their lives on their own terms, learning to prioritize their freedom, peace, and self-worth above outdated ideals that no longer serve them. But understanding the problem is only half the battle. Let's talk about how you can protect yourself moving forward. If you've been paying attention, you already know the risks. But knowing why marriage has become a trap isn't enough. You need to know how to protect yourself from falling into it. Because in today's world, love alone won't save you. Awareness, preparation, and discipline will. The first step is setting boundaries, not just emotional ones, but legal and financial ones too. Before you commit to anyone, understand exactly what's on the line. Learn how marriage laws work in your country or state. Understand that once you sign that paper, your assets, income, and future earnings can legally become shared property. Protect yourself with a prenuptial agreement or by keeping your finances separate. It's not unromantic. It's survival. Next, have clear expectations from the start. Don't assume that love means alignment. Talk openly about values, roles, and long-term goals before things get serious. Too many men walk into marriage hoping things will work themselves out. They won't. If she dismisses your boundaries early on, that's not a red flag. It's a blaring siren telling you exactly how she behaved later. You also need to redefine what success in relationships looks like. It doesn't have to mean marriage. In fact, the traditional model may not serve you at all. Consider alternatives: long-term partnerships without legal binding, or focusing on personal growth and brotherhood over romantic validation. Freedom and peace of mind are worth far more than social approval. Most importantly, protect your mindset. Modern relationships are filled with psychological traps: guilt, shame, manipulation, and emotional coercion. Don't let the fear of being alone push you into making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Learn to find fulfillment outside of relationships. Build a life that no one can take from you. Because at the end of the day, protection isn't just about avoiding loss. It's about preserving your power, your freedom, and your identity. Now, let's talk about the mindset you need to adopt to navigate the new reality. If you want to survive and thrive in today's world of dating and relationships, the first thing you need to understand is that the rules have changed. The old models no longer apply, and clinging to them will only leave you frustrated, resentful, and unfulfilled. The men who succeed now aren't necessarily the most romantic or selfless. They're the ones who understand the landscape, play by reality's rules, and protect themselves first. Self-sufficiency is the cornerstone of this mindset. Your happiness cannot depend on someone else's validation, loyalty, or affection. Build a life that is meaningful on your own, financially, emotionally, socially, and physically. When you have a strong foundation, you stop being desperate for acceptance. And that independence is magnetic. Women notice men who are anchored in themselves, not men who constantly bend to please. Asterisk equally important is removing women from pedestals. Society has spent decades teaching men to idealize women, but in the modern context, that kind of thinking is dangerous. Admiration is fine, but blind reverence leads to self-sabotage. Respect yourself first, or you risk being manipulated, used, or disappointed. Personal growth must become a lifelong pursuit. Read, train, invest, and expand your skills. A man who grows continuously becomes resilient, not just to the pitfalls of relationships, but to the broader challenges of life. Confidence, competence, and clarity become your armor, and you must accept the uncomfortable truth. Not every relationship will last, and not every woman will meet your expectations. That doesn't make you bitter, it makes you wise. By adjusting your standards, setting boundaries, and prioritizing your well-being, you avoid the traps that have destroyed countless marriages before you. If you don't adapt to this new reality, you risk becoming another statistic, another man disillusioned, burned out, and trapped in a system that no longer rewards loyalty or love. But by embracing self-sufficiency, clarity, and personal empowerment, you step into a version of masculinity that is unshakable and unexploitable. But ultimately, it all comes down to one simple truth. The truth is clear. Modern marriages are no longer the safe, fulfilling institution they once promised to be. Men who rely on old rules risk loss, heartbreak, and regret. It's time to rethink your approach, prioritize your freedom, set boundaries, and focus on personal growth before committing blindly. Explore alternative relationship models that protect your life, finances, and peace of mind. Don't wait until it's too late to take action. Your future depends on it. Share your experiences, lessons, and strategies in the comments. Let's build a community of men who refuse to be blindsided again.